This is why I learned to hate charity and I learned to hate a grant because there's no reciprocal value. Yeah. And that's where you destroy the mind. And that's where people are like, oh, we ANC, siyabonga. And you're like, no. Because you realize it destroys the mindset of someone. So to what you're saying, so I was making an example of, we now live in the suburbs. My mom is a nurse or a school teacher. We now go to decent schools. And we're now visiting our relatives, her siblings, abasalekasi, where they're living on a grant and what. And your old lady or your timer is taking like expired foods back to them.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from that mindset of you don't know when their children grow up where they're going to end up. They might end up becoming entrepreneurs or rich or what. And the day your mom or your dad are like, oh, but in Caesar, they're going to be like, hey, you can go fuck yourself. Because we were children and obviously Sasbon just patella something. But at some point, Sapato I see so, and then we realize, no, but these people keep bringing expired chocolates type of situation. That's the context I was raising. In a situation where people are beggars and people are charity recipients, grant recipients, we need to, you're very right, educate the giver and where possible, educate the receiver. That this can't be your life. It's not sustainable. And you need to do something for these people. It could be you draw them pictures, you dance for them. As soon as Uncle Caesar arrives, we wash their car, what, so that there must be something of value that they get as well. Number one, to show appreciation, but number two, to be like, I bought you guys chicken. The day I will be like, yeah, but we also used to wash your car and babysit your kids and come to your garden and what. Maybe it wasn't at the same level of value, but you mustn't act like, Jay, you were just giving us. We also were thanking you in some way.
How you then educate the giver in the situation of you're giving to beggars?
Sure, and then to the giver, you must explain the destructive nature of giving in that sense. Number one becomes this thing of don't give expired things on whatever that you wouldn't consume.
Yeah.
Because it's actually demeaning. Number two is, okay, so you give these kids things. A good example is beggars on the street, which I also hate. I think begging should be criminalized, to be honest. When you leave crumbs on the floor, you're inviting cockroaches and rats. As long as you keep leaving crumbs, they'll keep coming back.
Yeah.
A similar thing happens with a human being who's begging, where all you're doing is you're giving them crumbs. You are creating the habit of every day you come here, you'll get crumbs. Don't worry.
Yeah, no matter what.
If we were to stop giving beggars money or food or whatever, they would be like, exercise, keep it, and they'd get off the street. Where that go now becomes a new conversation.
Crime and blah, blah, blah.
Type of situation.
Sure.
But we can't normalize that. So similarly, the idea of, I spent 18 years on a child grant. Then I spent the next however many years to 65 on a 370 SRT grant, living in an RTP house. Then I was on an old age grant. When your whole life, you've just been a leech. At which point did you ever, but I'm a South African citizen. And some of those people end up being angry at foreigners who come in here undocumented, but who work. A car guard, a gardener, what they
things you wouldn't want to do as a South African.
You're too good for.
You're too proud of, yeah.
So if we were to create a system that would change that, the giver, whether it's government or a taxpayer or an NPO, get these people to do something
in exchange for us as taxpayers.
When I used to do charity in Tetir, that became one of the things to say, before we feed these kids, they must play disc. So that becomes exercise, you're learning a skill, whatever, as an example. And the plan, I just never got a chance to fully thrash it out because of life. My plan was to say, we will feed these kids. We will document these kids. And then at some point, we must start tracking their education. Are they studying at school? Are they attending? What's the situation like at home? So that we try to fix their minds somehow. And I wanted to create a gardening project. To say, it comes from the garden. So now, before you guys play soccer, what, you're going to start off by working in the garden. And then you're going to go play soccer. And then you're going to come eat. So that these kids become something.
Yeah.
And where possible with the capitalist mindset, you're like, how do we milk these kids? We make pictures of them. We make TikTok dance challenges, what, so that we can monetize and then come back. So that we feed them, but they give us something. And we're also giving them a skill and they're becoming somebody. It's a technical conversation, but it needs to be had. If we are serious, if we're not serious about empowerment, then obviously don't educate, don't uplift. Keep them at the bottom, keep them useless, give them crumbs, leave them as rats. The problem with rats and cockroaches is the more they grow, like with social grant recipients and beggars, they might overrun your house. And whatever you thought you were trying to do, maybe might come back to bite you. Those rats are going to bite your child while you're sleeping. They're going to bite you and you're going to have disease. Those cockroaches are going to infest your house and whatever. Now you've got a bigger problem, and it's a self-created problem. When they say the poor will eat the rich, or if you push the poor to such desperation that they'll end up, it's that situation. So, yeah. I was just saying, with Ubuntu Fetch, you throw those things away. With capitalism, you sell those things at a discount. And I know corporates, retailers, the expired stuff they tend to give to pig farmers to feed pigs, which is arguably immoral. And then the stuff that's going to expire, they normally push down to the spaza shops, or they donate to charity, and you're like, we'd like to thank this retailer for free food. Mina mangicheka la ngithi le yogurt izo-expire kusasa. Or le yogurt expired last week. And then I'm like, manje date. So I know it's right. And yeah, sure, I know the expiry dates doesn't mean it's bad, but I'm like, it was charity. They write it off as CSI and tax benefits, but they were just looking to benefit from this thing. It's not out of goodness. It be expire the product, or it's expire.
Yeah, or when you know the whole thing of how a whole store works, whether it's a Pick and Pay or whatever, the cooking section is that food. Because once after you've put them in the butcher, 2 days before you see these things are not vying, you need to then now cook it. So that
Who was speaking about that?
Maponya.
Oh yes, Kulufelo Maponya.
Yeah, that whole
when the food is not fresh anymore, or the fresh produce, they use it to create created food.
Exactly.